It's about the I got to say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Gets the ball, gets back, pulls up for the win. Got it! Detroit basketball. Holloman looks the clock, half court for the win. Oh! The Lions go for it. The Vikings bring it. The pass is a touchdown to give.
Javi Baez, homered earlier. First one, in the air, deep left field, again! Yes, Tigers win! Javi is unstoppable!
This is BS Sports.
And away we go. Welcome one, welcome all, except for you, Bacon Bombs. What the heck, man? What the heck? I mean, like, just randomly catching strays. That is just mean. He's fat. All right, now Stephen A. Now that's not nice. That we don't have to take personal attacks at Mr. Bomb.
He looks fat.
That might be true. That might be true. Welcome into the show. We got a lot to talk about. It's a surprisingly heavy news-laden week. And by surprising, I don't mean that it's surprising that we have news. It's surprising the kind of news that we do have. And obviously, at least from a Detroit sports perspective, from a teams that I care about perspective, the biggest news is Mike McDaniel. So we're just going to jump right into it right now. So I would like to propose something that I would like to begin the Bring Mike McDaniel to Detroit to be their offensive coordinator campaign. Get me in touch with Sheila, get me in touch with Dan, with Brad, get me in touch with Barry Sanders, get me in touch with whoever. We are going to make this offense great again. We are going to bring in Mike McDaniel, and he is going to fix all of our offensive woes. I will just say this. Unless he gets a head coaching job, we have to get this guy. If he gets an offensive coordinator job that's not in Detroit, it will be an immediate strike on Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell for not bringing this guy in. Like, if you gave him a reasonable offer, I guess we'll never know these things. But if he's somewhere else as the offensive coordinator, I'm not going to be happy. I just can't. He is the perfect. He was the guy that people were saying, and I was like, well, I don't know. It seemed like Miami's going to keep him, but he is the perfect fit. Now, for those of you who maybe are a little skeptical because you watched Miami last year and their offense was poo-poo. They were not very good. And Tua has only gotten worse since he was their head coach. Well, I guess minus the couple of years that he was there when Tua was really good stat-wise, but we'll get to that. And all the, not playing in the cold. Okay. I've got some stats for you for the offenses that this guy has been either the coordinator of or the head coach running the offense, namely in Miami when he was calling plays. So in 2021, he was the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers that year were 7th in yards per game, 13th in points per game, 12th in passing yards per game, and 7th in rushing yards per game. Pretty good. Not amazing. Not blowing you out of the water by any stretch, but pretty good, right? Okay. So he, in 22, I believe, takes over that job in Miami. Let me get those numbers for you. In 22, Miami is 6th in yards per game. Lions, by the way, were just 2 positions ahead of them. That was the first year of Ben Johnson as the coordinator in that stat. In passing yards per game, the Dolphins were 4th that year. In rushing yards per game, let me see if I can find that. The Dolphins were actually not very good. We're not going to talk about that. They did not have the backs at that point. And in points per game, they were, where are they? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They were 11th. So outside of the rushing games in the first year of 2022, they were pretty good. Now, 2023 was when they really started going crazy. So 23, they are 2nd in the league in points per game. In rushing yards per game, they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th, just behind the Lions in rushing yards per game. In passing yards per game, they are number 1 in the NFL. This is 2023, by the way. In total yards per game, they are also number 1. Let's go to 2024. 2024, the Dolphins in total yards per game, that a little bit of a drop off. No doubt about it. Passing yards per game, however, also a drop off. Okay, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm not making my case here. Hold on. Wait a minute. I was supposed to lie to you to make you believe. This is okay. Look, you know what? 24 wasn't his year, but 22 and 23, it was good. And 24, he had some injuries, there was some stuff, but 22, 24, at least he's got about a 3-year stretch, all right, where offensively, the numbers where he was ranking compared to other teams was very, very high. And yes, this may also be true, but also I'm pretty sure Tua was getting hurt that year as well. Wasn't that the concussion year? Wasn't that the year where he got concussed 100 times? Or maybe that was 22 or 21. I don't remember. Either way, all of that notwithstanding, he has the exact mindset, and he has been, when he is at his peak, when he has the players and the personnel to utilize, he can make your offense electric. And mind you, in those peak years in 23 and 22, he was very close, if not better in some categories than Ben Johnson was. In points per game in 23, that was Ben Johnson's, I would say, his real coming out party as one of the top coordinators. He was better than him in points per game. He was one spot below him in rushing yards per game. He was better than him in passing yards per game. In overall yards per game, he was better. So I'm not saying that he would necessarily be like an absolute upgrade over Ben Johnson. He was technically only an offensive coordinator one time, which was under the 49ers, and we already gave the numbers the Niners had that year. But you got to think, that season he's working with Jimmy Garoppolo as his quarterback. I don't think they had Christian McCaffrey to that point, or at least not for the whole year. He's going to be coming into a situation here in Detroit where he's going to have an offense with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jamison Williams, a potentially rising Isaac Tesla. You also got to consider Sam Laporta coming back healthy. Even Brock Wright has some use in this offense. That's not even to mention David Montgomery. Granted, he's kind of aging out, and he would say, and also we saw that his usage was diminished from what it was. But frankly, I think he's going to bring that usage back based on what he did with Raheem Mostert down in Miami just a couple seasons ago. With all of that being said, he is far and away the most plausible and best candidate for offensive coordinator. Because as much as I would love Kevin Stefanski, it's probably not going to happen because Kevin Stefanski is clearly good enough to be a head coach. At the very least, with McDaniel, you could say, well, maybe some teams are a little weary based on his tenure in Miami as head coach. Maybe he is more of a coordinator. They're not necessarily going to throw the bag at him, especially with the last couple of seasons being pretty big disappointments and the fact that he didn't do much in the postseason as the head coach. Is Brock Wright still under contract in 26? Let me actually look that up. That's a good point. Brock Wright contract. I think he is. He signed a 3-year deal in 24. So yes. Let me see. When does that end? Yes. It'll be his final season. Will be this one. Will be this upcoming 2026. Where he will be a unrestricted free agent. So he's got one more year. We got one more year of Brock Wright. Anyway, that regardless, this offense has a lot of weapons. And I was saying, and many very smart people have been saying, it wasn't simply personnel that was the problem, although personnel obviously was a problem, especially in the interior of your offensive line. It was scheme. You weren't responding to the lack of personnel. You weren't putting the guys that were in there in spots where they are going to be able to succeed. He is this guy, Mike McDaniel. He will put your guys in spots where they can succeed. It's a very similar kind of offense that he had in San Francisco and in Miami. You know, you have J-Mo to take the top off like Tyreek Hill. You have your Jalen Waddle equivalent and Amon-Ra. You have your two-headed running monster, you know, with Mostert and who's the other guy whose name escapes me down in Miami. Whatever. They had two running backs in I think it was 2023. But you had now you got Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. It is like as perfect as it can be. So all of that being said, Dan, I know they just interviewed us. So look, I'm not right now. They're going for it. So I'm not saying that they're Achan. Thank you, Devin Achan or Devon, whatever. Achan was his name. Thank you. They obviously are interested. They interviewed him for the position. So at a certain point, it's up to McDaniel to want to take the position, as well as the fact that the Lions have to give him a good enough offer. You know, you certainly can't lowball him. You should desire to make him the highest paid coordinator because you have to get this coaching pick right. You know, Dan Campbell, and when he initially came in, he brought in Anthony Lynn to run his offense. That didn't work. He then promoted Ben Johnson. That did work. Then when Ben Johnson left, he brought in John Morton. That didn't work. So he's 1 for 2 in terms of his, or 1 for 3 in terms of his offensive coordinator success rate, which is crazy to think about given how good the Lions' offense has been, even with the handicap of having John Morton in the offense. The Lions' offense still ranked out pretty highly on the year in terms of total stats, but obviously, watch the games. Their offense was simply not that good. All of this is to say, if you can bring this guy in, if he is telling you, I'm interested, I want to do this, I want to be a part of a winning culture, I want to like build back my resume, you know, maybe people are down on me from the Miami tenure, this is the place where he can do it. So, Brad, Dan, you have to make this happen. You truly do. Like, I don't see any other option, or I don't see any other coordinator or coach out there that I'm like, yeah, I think he would fit. Like maybe you think of Brian Daboll, Kevin Stefanski, but even with those guys, Stefanski is probably a head coach, and Daboll, I just don't think his offensive scheme is going to fit here. He was the coordinator for Josh Allen, and I like Jared Goff. He's not Josh Allen. Okay, it's just not going to happen. And John Harbaugh is not coming here to be a coordinator. So I saw somebody, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. I saw somebody like, oh, hey, do you think Tomlin would come here and be? No, I don't. I think he will not. Anyway. So I'm circling. I'm speaking in circles here a little bit, but go out there. Bring Mike McDaniel to Detroit. We are going. This is our campaign. This is the Bring Mike McDaniel to Detroit fan club. And I don't just like him just because his name is Mike, although that is obviously us Mikes got to stick together. But he would be the perfect hire. Like truly. Like I think everyone universally, the vibes right now for Lions fans are very low. People are very negative on the team. And I understand why. This, I think, would significantly boost the vibes for fans. I think, and I know you don't win championships in the offseason, but you know, right now fans need their faith to be rekindled in this organization. And if you can land this, I think that'll certainly help myself regain some of the faith. I think it'll help a lot of fans as well. So make it happen, Dan. I don't know if he's still when they did the interview, maybe they locked him in Allen Park. That could work. You know, get a police escort, have the streets shut down. You're not leaving until you sign this contract to be our offensive coordinator for at least next season. So there you go. Don't actually, that's a joke, by the way, in case people don't actually lock him in, unless I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Am I kidding? I was hoping that Dolphins lost versus the Bills and he got fired then so we could grab him back then. Hey, man, you know what? Didn't really seem to matter. they fired him anyway. And look, the Dolphins, as far as where they're at, they're going for a full-on reset. I'm really fine with it. So, yeah. Burrow and Lamar, never healthy. So Detroit would actually be the most enticing job. Well, I mean, he's not going to be hired in Cincinnati, right? I mean, they're keeping Zach Taylor somehow. Zach Taylor has managed to be the only AFC North coach. The worst one has managed to keep his job. And I don't think they have an open coordinator job there. I don't know if they fired anybody, which is incredible. But no, I mean, like, I look at the other. I think Detroit has to be a hugely enticing job unless he really wants to be a head coach, in which case I could see the Giants being an interesting team to join up. I don't know if it'd be a good fit, but I get it. Yeah, I kind of agree. I don't see anyone else out there unless we're going to get a random assistant. Yeah, and I mean, look, you never know. Sometimes these random assistants, they're random to us, but they're not necessarily random to these organizations. And, I guess Ben Johnson was a random assistant at some point. Every good coordinator was a random assistant at some point. But I think we don't have time to risk on a random assistant. You have to really, really, really be sure that this random assistant is going to be somebody. And look, I mean, even with the John Morton hire, they went out and tried to bring someone who had more of a resume, somebody who had a specific actual experience in this. So hopefully they take that same approach instead they use it on an actually competent coordinator and not John Morton. By the way, I saw a report that apparently the Buccaneers are interviewing John Morton for their offensive coordinator role. How do people do this? I can understand in like private sector jobs how people who are terrible at their jobs will fail upward because they just know people. And once you're in, you're in. How does this work in the NFL? Like in a public entertainment product, every single human being in the United States of America probably watched that game against Minnesota on Christmas Day, or watched Thanksgiving, or watched any of the national broadcasts of the Lions game, watched the Chiefs game on Sunday Night Football. Like, how in the world does John Morton keep getting interviews to be offensive coordinator, not even to be like pass game coordinator or quarterbacks coach or wide receiver coach? Like the same job that everybody else saw him fail at, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers said, you know what? Let's give him a shot. Maybe, you know what? Maybe it's like they'll say to themselves, well, it was the offensive line. It was the offensive line, which I agree. To some extent, it was the offensive line, but he was scheming the offensive line as well as, all of the injuries aside, he's still scheming up the plays. He's still scheming up the system that they're running, and the guys on the field weren't performing. I don't understand. See, but at least Lane Kiffin, at least he's been a head coach, and he made Ole Miss somewhat relevant. I can get it. Correct. Yeah. Are there any good offensive lines? I've thought about this. Are there actually any good offensive lines? Maybe like the Patriots. I think they have. Maybe. I think. Maybe the Chargers when healthy. But, that's certainly not been a fact in their existence. Who's got a good offensive line? The Eagles, I guess. Speaking of the Eagles, you know what? Let's just jump into that, shall we? Or you know what? No, we'll go in order, somewhat in order. I'm not going to talk about the Rams-Panthers game, mostly on account of the fact that I didn't watch any of it. Now, granted, I also didn't really watch that much of the Chicago-Green Bay game, but I just have to say this. Chicago is the luckiest and stupidest team that I hate. I hate them. I hate that they play like garbage for 3 quarters, and then these idiot teams can't figure out how to finish them off. My beloved Detroit Lions managed to beat them not once, but twice. How are teams just so stupid? Most of the time, when your team plays 3 bad quarters of football, you lose. I've watched plenty of football games. You, in almost all cases, do not win when you play 3 out of the 4 quarters like garbage. But this Bears team will play like, the 0-16 Browns for the first 3 quarters. And Caleb Williams will put up awful throw after awful throw, take terrible sacks, and just play terribly. And then in the 4th quarter, he becomes, Kurt Warner and just becomes the most accurate, perfect quarterback in the universe and just waltzes down the field and comes. They could be down 100 and they'll find a way to make it interesting. It's ridiculous. And I just, how, like, Matt LaFleur, buddy, what exactly is it that you do here? Like, ever since Aaron Rodgers has left, and frankly, even when Aaron Rodgers was here, this guy has done absolutely nothing in the postseason. And since Aaron Rodgers has left, he's never won the division. He seems to always lose the big games, and he will do it in these, like, absolutely embarrassing fashion. I mean, like, how do you blow a double-digit lead in the 4th quarter against a division opponent that is doing everything wrong? You can't do it and keep your job. I do not believe, and I don't care. This is like last year's Eagles. Like, all everybody was saying was, well, maybe they're just good. No, I don't even care that they won the Super Bowl. We saw what happened on Sunday. This is a conspiracy. All right. I'm like Charlie Day with the newspapers and Pepe Sylvia. This is me with the Chicago Bears. This team is playing with fire. They are doing things that are not sustainable, and it will come back. And I guess they only got to lose one more game here for it to come back to haunt them. We'll get to the picks later, but I'm refusing to take the Bears. I just can't. I can't live with the fact that a team that will play 3 quarters of bad football is continuing to win games. I do not like rewarding bad behavior, darn it. I will not reward bad behavior. You can't make me. You cannot make me. Anyway. Yeah, I just like the old playoff format was still in effect. The Packers would have missed the playoffs in the last 4 years. Wow, I didn't even think about that. You're right. Because he's been making it in the 7th seed for all of those. Yeah. And he's got 1 playoff win in that span, I think. Yeah, because it was I don't think they won in 22. Did they? No, they didn't make it in 22. Right? They didn't make it. We knocked them out. In 23, they made it, and they won. 24, they made it. They lost. 25, they just made it, and they lost again. Wow. That's crazy. That's just crazy. I mean, basically, since 2021, has anybody thought of him as one of the top coaches? Even like, oddly enough, I think Kevin O'Connell is a better coach than he is, and Kevin O'Connell has had multiple missed playoff seasons. Because what is LaFleur's legacy? Shotgun formation, inside zone run. Yeah, I mean, like, he was, he was the boy genius. He was the boy who lived. He was the one. He was supposed to, bring the Packers out of the McCarthyism of the past, pun intended, and bring them into the future, into the light, the little flower. That's what LaFleur means. I don't know if it means little, but LaFleur means the flower. And he is just bloomed into a stink flower, like a vile plume. It's a Pokemon reference. I don't know if you understand that, but either way. So yeah, in my mind, I'd like for Green Bay to keep him. And I know what people will say. Oh, the Lions got swept to them this year. Whatever. Then keep him. Then keep him if you want him. That's fine. If it wasn't for the tie, we very well could have been in the playoffs. Obviously, whatever. We're not going to go down that route. Anyway. I do not. Caleb Williams. LaFleur. Okay. Fleur is mid at best as a head coach. Maybe what was that? He's like the best mid coach. So he's like, hold on. He's like the Kyle Kuzma of Chris Paul's. Does this analogy even makes? I don't know. Somebody made that analogy a few years ago about, I don't know if it was that exact analogy, but it was like, this guy is the Chris Paul of this other player. It's like, I kind of get it. I think it was about Jason Tatum, actually. Something crazy. Dude is great. This is about Caleb Williams. Dude is great off script. Besides that, he has a hard time dissecting a defense. I agree totally. Whenever I watch him in scripted scenario, like in beginning parts of games, I'm just like, get out of here. Like, stop. Like, you're just making me mad. Like, it's like, I don't even like the Bears, but he's making me mad because he's just doing stupid things. And then later in games, he'll be rewarded for that same stupid behavior. Don't find someone who loves someone as much as I hate watching Caleb Williams play football. It's infuriating. And he did this in college too. He did this at USC. It's infuriating. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. They could have been fine. But I don't know. I mean, like, they've had healthy seasons before. I mean, well, at least not the level of injuries that they've had. And, I know it's not on him entirely. But if your defense completely falls apart after Micah Parsons goes down, well, then you really don't have that great of a defense. like in the same way that when the Cowboys got rid of Micah Parsons and their defense just completely deteriorated, that didn't tell me that they had a good defense. It told me that Micah Parsons was carrying them. And now, similar deal with Green Bay, where Micah goes down and suddenly they couldn't stop a nosebleed. They have explosive guys. I'm talking reliable. Yeah, I mean, that's true. And even the guys that they used that first round pick on Matthew Golden, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, they finally used a first round pick on a receiver. And he was like, okay, I guess. Like, they acted like they drafted, Justin Jefferson or Randy Moss, and he's a fine player. Matthew Golden, fine enough player, but like, they didn't. He certainly didn't elevate their offense any more than they have been already. And given, what else is crazy? And I think it was Detroit sports fan, MSU sports fan in the chat. I think he pointed out that the Packers have the longest drought of not winning their division within this division, which is crazy. Like, if you would, like, my whole life, it was like every year the Packers were at least a contender to win the division. And I guess you could say they've been contenders, but they never won it. They've always been won up by some other team, whether it's the Lions or the Vikings or the Bears. It's literally been any other team other than them. Even with the Bears' craziness this year. Yeah, I mean, whatever. They lose the game. I don't care if you got nobody out there. You were up double digits, fourth quarter. You have to win that game. You have to. You can't, injuries are no longer a factor. You didn't have a problem with the injuries when you were running up the score. So, yeah. Anyway, we have other games to get to, so we got to move along. Buffalo and Jacksonville, they played a really great game. This was probably the most interesting game of the. I guess you could say LA Carolina was a good one. This was just a fun one, and the unfortunate thing about this game to me is these are two Super Bowl teams. And Trevor Lawrence didn't play that great of a game. He did have 2 picks, and 3 touchdowns, but he didn't play that great. But these are 2 Super Bowl teams, and one of them had to lose, and that really blows. That really stinks. Now, granted, Josh Allen put the team on his back. He just absolutely decided it was his time to shine, and he had an amazing game with 2 rushing touchdowns, including and a passing touchdown. Absolutely unreal stuff from him. But you know what? Maybe this is his time. Maybe this is what he's going to do. He is going to drag this Bills team to the Super Bowl. Maybe. I think he could. We'll get to the picks, but he is good enough to do that. Like, it's certainly, I think there's crazier things that could happen. Yes, I'm with you, Jimmy. They're probably my favorite team of the teams that are left. Best player on the planet. Yeah. I know that, the MVP race to this point was pretty much Matthew Stafford and Drake May. I mean, given the way the Bills are playing, how is Josh Allen has to get votes, right? I mean, I'm sure he will. That probably goes without saying. I might be preaching to the choir here a little bit, but he is literally the entire Bills team, defense included. Like, he is that team. And the fact that they are going to be going on to the divisional round and the fact that they will be 2 wins away from a Super Bowl appearance is just like, if they had anybody else at quarterback, they wouldn't be here. They might not make the playoffs. It's absolutely crazy. He is unreal, and he deserves to have some sort of victory. He really does. Now, this is where I get a little bit of fun. This is where I have fun. The Eagles are the fakest powerhouse team in recent memory. This Eagles team, they are so lucky that last year they matched up with the best possible matchup in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, who were complete phonies the entire year. They are lucky because all their legacy has been with Jalen Hurts is losing in the Super Bowl to the Chiefs, getting their doors knocked in to the Buccaneers at home. I think that was at home, or maybe that might not have been at home in the first round. Then a crazy postseason run where Saquon Barkley absolutely took off, and then once again collapsing into complete and utter mediocrity. Like, great, you fired Kevin Patullo. Excellent. You fired your offensive coordinator who should have been fired after like week 4. But you still have Nick Sirianni, who I refuse to believe he is a real head coach. What exactly does he do other than get into fights with his players? other than yell and scream and be, generally speaking, an annoying human being. What does he do? What does this man do? I cannot. This Eagles team is so phony. They are so fake. They have all this talent, but there's no cohesion at all. Even last year, it was Saquon Barkley just taking off, and then they managed to get the best possible matchup of a terrible Chiefs team who couldn't stop anything. This whole Sirianni arc of the Eagles has been a weird, total drug trip of a run. To go from top of the line coach in 22? Yeah, 22, where you make the Super Bowl, you're one of the top offenses, one of the top defenses, everything's looking good. Then the following year, everything falls apart. And then the next year, everything seems to work, kind of. like your defense is really good, and you can just hand the ball off to Saquon, he'll just help you. And now this year, you see what happens when Saquon is not just carrying you. A.J. Brown's got to go. Devontae Smith, I've been waiting for this guy to take off. Every year, I'm like, okay, this is going to be the year. Devontae, A.J. Brown, he might be sort of aging out. You're going to take, no, never does. He's a good receiver. He's never taken that role. Anyway, I might just be mad that I have him in fantasy, and every year he never listens. Whatever. I want to believe. I thought he was great in Alabama. Anyway. So that was fun. And also, as far as the 49ers go, it's unfortunate that they lose, what's his name? Oh my gosh. Kittle. Just given, they are, just riddled with injuries already, and they get another massive injury, not just an injury that is going to take him out for this game, could potentially take him out for some time next year. Somehow they're still winning, I guess. And it would be really, really funny if they actually do manage to beat the Seahawks. As much as I kind of want to see the Seahawks win, it actually would be kind of funny if they won. Although, I'll say this. If they do, and the Bears win, we're going to be in the worst timeline. We're going to be in Eagles 2.0. We're going to be in massive fakeness abound. It'll be crazy. We need to make sure that doesn't happen, guys. So Matthew Stafford, please get the job done. Don't you let me down now. Don't you go and mess around after all of this nonsense about how great you are and how you're going to win the MVP. Don't you go and blow it, Matthew, Matty, if that's even your real name, John. Actually, isn't his real name. His real name is John. Yes, they are getting Warner back, I believe. Or they could. They could get him back for the championship game. So they wouldn't get him back for the Seahawk game. But if they win the Seahawk game, they would get him back for the championship game. You understand? You know, I didn't ever actually realize, when you said that, I was like, what do you mean back with Vrabel? Talk about crazy connections. I forgot that AJ Brown was not only on the Titans. I think I remember that, but that he was on the Titans when Vrabel was their coach. Wow. Talk about a deep cut. Forgot about that. As far as whether he'll go to the Pats, I don't know, man. I mean, I guess they, yeah. I mean, sure. I guess they could use They could use more upgrades at the receiver room, but no, to me, you know where I think he's going to end up going assuming they do trade him. He feels like a Kansas City Chief. He feels like he just fit right in. You know, they have Rashee Rice, and he's kind of a problem child. And Travis Kelce's probably retiring. They need another annoying pass catcher. So, AJ Brown, he would fit. It would work. I don't know if it would work, but he would fit. They had DeAndre Hopkins for a year. Remember that? Remember Kansas City Chiefs DeAndre Hopkins? Remember that? Eagles don't want him in the conference, right? You would think. KC would be, I think, the perfect fit. If they want to, assuming they don't want to just wait and develop another young wide receiver, a la Xavier Worthy. And I would imagine Patrick Mahomes is not exactly interested in entering I guess the problem for them is Mahomes is probably going to be hurt for much of next year. So I don't know that it's going to work for them that they're going to be able to pull off that trade. But as it stands, I think it'd be really funny. So in a way, I'm sort of rooting for it. In a way, I'm not rooting. I'm rooting for it so that it doesn't work. Does that make sense? It's like I want them to do it, and then I want it to blow up in their face. Does that mean? Am I mean? No, that's not mean. And I wish Seth was here, because we still have to talk about his Chargers. Rest in peace. Rest in peace to the Chargers. This is now back-to-back seasons of the Chargers make it to the playoffs and lose in the first round. But to be fair, kind of hard to blame this loss on any one person in particular. They fired Roman, the offensive coordinator. Obviously, it wasn't quite working, but also, that was tough. They scored just 3 points and no points in the second half of that game. That's tough. And also, you lose two all pro tackles to begin the season, pretty much. That is that's not going to work. Yeah, that's not going to work. I don't think the Patriots look very good in this game overall. They managed to close out with a win, so good for them. But I don't think this assuages anybody in New England's hopes for this postseason with Drake May and whether he'll be able to perform. I mean, look, this Texans game upcoming for the Patriots, That could be a little bit of a trap game. This Texans team is a really good defense. If they can, stifle Drake May as much as the Charger defense did, it could be in some trouble. Could be in some trouble. And then finally, we saved the best for last, of course. We saved the best for last. Everybody laugh at the Steelers, and especially everybody point and laugh at Aaron Rodgers. What did I tell you at the beginning of this year? What did I tell you? Well, I told you that Aaron Rodgers would fail in Pittsburgh because that's all he's done since 2022. All he has done for the teams that he has been on has failed. Now, granted, if you want to say this is the most success he's had since leaving Green Bay, okay. That's true. He hadn't made the playoffs with the Jets, and this was the first time he made the playoffs since 2021, where he also failed, mind you. So basically, this is just fun. The best part about this was Aaron Rodgers' final throw potentially in his career was a pick six. A pick six. His final throw as a Green Bay Packer was an interception to Kirby Joseph, which ultimately led to the game-sealing drive by the Lions. But this is even better. Playoffs, national television, ABC, the world is watching. Aaron Rodgers back in the postseason and dead. Just hold on. Where is it? Where's the foul ball? Here we are.
Ow.
Just that.
Ow.
That was Aaron Rodgers all night when Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson just barreled through. Just
Ow.
ow. Oh, this is great. This is great. It was awesome. I love it. Yes, nobody's surprised, but it's fun. It's fun when it happens. It couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. That's all I'm saying. Now, actually, speaking of nice guys, Mike Tomlin is stepping away. Now, let's just got to get the facts right here. He has not been fired. He is still under contract by the Steelers, meaning they could trade him at some point, which is so weird. Trading of coaches to me is the most odd thing that the NFL, I think they can do it in other leagues, but in the NFL, you can still do it. And it's so weird to me. It is like, it's just like a weird thing. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but so they could still trade him. But I got to tell you, I was not expecting this. Like, I think at this point, I thought maybe Tomlin was just going to keep going until basically he was told, to retire. Maybe that was what happened. I just didn't think it would happen now. Especially, they win the division, they make the playoffs. They were in this game for a good amount of time, and defense was looking really good. And yeah, it's unfortunate because he's one of the better football minds. He's one of the the legends of the game, so to speak. He's gonna get a bust in Canton, but kind of similar to John Harbaugh. It was time. Steelers needed to move along. They needed to get a new voice, and I don't know who that's going to be. They could bring in John Harbaugh. Whoever it's going to be, this feels like the Steelers are getting ready to be really bad for the next couple seasons. Which, you know what? After however many years of winning records and division titles some years and losing in the playoffs, maybe it's time to have a little bit of sucking in Pittsburgh. Maybe it's time to just be bad. I mean, they're used to it in baseball with the Pirates, so they might as well get used to it in football. He's got the Penguins. Got that going for him. Tomlin's stable offense or defense? In my mind, it's defense, but I actually don't know. I don't know where he started. If this is a trivia question, then I look like an idiot, I guess. Let me look it up. I'm pretty sure he was under Gruden the first time he was with the Raiders. I could be wrong about that. Let me take a look. Yeah, he was let's see. He was wide receiver coach, grad assistant, wide receiver coach. Excuse me. He was a defensive back coach. Or no, he was with the Buccaneers, not with the Raiders. Excuse me. I knew he's a DB coach, defensive coordinator in Minnesota, and then a head coach in Pittsburgh. So yeah, it seems like he kind of stuck with defense. He was there with the receivers there for a little bit in the late 90s, but you know, he was the DB coach in Tampa Bay when they won that Super Bowl with John Gruden the first time. So, you know. And you know the other thing, and I don't know if this is his fault exactly. Maybe it's, you know, on ownership as much as it's on him. But what's the deal with like every wide receiver that like ever was like any good? Like they just always were like total bitchs. Like they were all just like psychopaths. Every single one under Tomlin. You know, the Plaxico Burress, although he was, you know, after. You know, Antonio Brown is obviously the one that comes to mind. But then more recently, you had George Pickens, you had DK Metcalf. It's like, it's like you're attracting these kinds of people. Juju Smith-Schuster, like, you know, at a certain point, it is the culture that you're exhibiting, right? Or that you're tolerating. So it's those damn cheesesteaks. Isn't that Philly? I think that's Philly, buddy. I mean, I don't know. They might have them in Pittsburgh. It could be that. I don't know. You ever had a Philly cheesesteak? Mike Wallace wasn't insane? That's fair. Mike Wallace is also a TV reporter. I know. Yeah, I know. I know that you're talking about the football player, but I just immediately think of the TV guy. Hines played for Tom? Let me look it up. Hines Ward, he played in the league when he was... Yeah, he did. He played under Tomlin. So, I mean, he had a couple. But, like, I just gave you, like, 4, like, psychopath receivers. Granted, maybe those were closer to the end than they were to the beginning. But, you know, look, I think maybe it's like... I'm trying to think of maybe a Detroit sports... comparable example. I mean, maybe this isn't a perfect example, but for a little bit there, and I know now things are kind of getting better, Tom Izzo was kind of waning on Michigan State basketball fans. I mean, it's in like 2020, 2021, I'd say especially like that 2021 or 2020 to about last year, I think a lot of people were like, okay, look, he's a legend, he's great, but man, it just doesn't look like the game is, he still got it. Now it looks like he's back to, you know, the high standard that he normally is at for the most part in terms of both recruiting and just competency on the court. But yeah, anyway. What was that? I just totally bonked that. I will be right back, though. I feel like all congested, so I'm gonna blow my nose really quick. I'll be right back. 2 guys out of his 30. That seemed, yeah, that's fair. That is pretty much accurate. Meanwhile, Michigan State up 7 against Indiana right now. You know, I just realized, am I able to do like a multi-view here with the Red Wings game? I totally can. Hold on. We're going to set up a multi-view here, guys. There they are. It's like, why is the Red Wings all the way at the bottom? There we go. All right. Anyways. Speaking of the Detroit Red Wings, I have been putting off talking about the Red Wings for pretty much since their season started. And you know what? I've decided no more, no more wasting time. We're going to actually talk some Red Wings. And I'm just going to start this off, question right off of the bat. Are you ready to say that the Yzer plan is actually working? Let me start with some of the positive, okay? Positive, all right, Red Wings in the top of the standings in the Eastern Conference. 60 points after a really nice overtime win last night against Carolina. They're top of their division, top of their conference. As far as guys on their team, DeBrincat putting up a really good season. Lucas Raymond, another really good season. Dylan Larkin, the captain, another really good season. Mo Seider having an excellent season, probably his best season since his rookie year so far. That's all the positives. Even a guy like John Gibson. Even to look at your goalie acquisition, you got 2 goalies with sub-3 GAAs. John Gibson, as much as I was unimpressed with bringing him in, he's been really good. And he's helped you a lot. He's got a 900 save percentage right now. That's really good. Like, the guys on the team are performing really quite well. Now, here is your problem. Goal differential for the Red Wings is, well, not their strength. So right now they have a +4 goal differential. For comparison's sake, they are actually not very high. They are one of the only team that is below them that is not in the negatives is the Philadelphia Flyers with +1. So they are basically the lowest positive goal differential in the Eastern Conference. As far as where they are in the league, I guess I could look at that. Let's see. Where are they at in the league? They are the 3rd positive goal differential team, ahead of Edmonton, to be fair. But overall, I think it's clear that goal differential is not their strength. They're winning games pretty tight. They're not blowing guys out. Or when they do lose, they get blown out. That sort of thing. Now, the other thing I wanted to look at was expected goal percentage. So I'm looking at some of these advanced stats, and I know some people their eyes are gonna glaze over. Just bear with me. Some of these advanced stats. So expected goals percentage. So this is especially important given the goal differentials. How many goals are you expected to score based on some of the other fancy metrics? Okay, where do the Red Wings rank on this stat? 21st. Not good. Not good. You're closer to the St. Louis Blues than you are to Pittsburgh or Florida or I'm trying to think. I'm trying to use just Eastern Conference. Tampa Bay is another example. Tampa Bay is a very good team this year. Now, what about expected goal differential? So this is another thing that is going to be incredibly enlightening into quality of this team. Where do they rank on that? They also rank 21st. Once again, closer to St. Louis or New York, the Rangers, that is, than you are to Tampa Bay, to Colorado, to even Carolina, the team that you beat last time. The point I'm trying to make here is not that the Red Wings are just are not actually good. I think they are good. But they are very, very close to not being good, if that makes sense. Let me just go back and get the standings once again. So if they go on a losing streak of, say, 2-3 games, they could go from first place in their division and solidly, in the 1 seed to potentially the 2 spot in the wild card. like if they lose 3 games in a row and some of these teams behind them start winning, namely Montreal or Tampa Bay, teams that they played more games than, by the way. That's the other thing that gives me some pause is Detroit has 47 games played, and they are just 1 point ahead of Tampa Bay, who's played 3 less games than you. Now, what I'll say is this. The players that you need to get some performance out of, namely the young players, namely the guys that you have been hedging all your bets on, Steve Yzerman, those guys are playing well. Lucas Raymond's playing well. Moritz Seider's playing well. Emmett Finney, playing pretty good. Axel Sandin Pellikka, playing pretty good. Now, granted, you go down the list in terms of guys that are not that amazing or not making that much of an impact, namely the Nate Danielsons of the world or the Simon Edvinsons of the world or the Marco Caspers of the world. In terms of offense, I know that there's more to what these guys do than just the points that they're getting. But I'm telling you, in a league where you need superstars to win, these guys aren't doing a whole lot for you in terms of elevating you to where you need to be. Also, by the way, shout out Michael Brandt-Signigaard. Solid 9 games out of him. That was fun. That was enjoyable. It was fun when we had like every jersey name was just like a billion characters long. But anyway, here's the concern. And you pointed, this is perfect. If they don't collapse after the Olympic break, they're going to make the playoffs. But win a series or take a series the distance, I don't know about that, Chief. This is my concern. Every year, they will collapse after the mid-season / late season break. So it's like if you once again, because last year it was the tournament. The year before that it was the All-Star break. And now we have the Olympic break where some of these players, I don't know if they're going to be some players on our team. I'm sure, Seider or Raymond, I'm sure some of those guys might end up on their national teams. But, you're going to lose those players for, however long the Olympics is, 2 weeks or a week. I don't know exactly how long it is. If you come back and you start floundering like you did every single time, it's just, it would be perfectly emblematic of what this team has been, basically. And look, Steve Yzerman has the right to be able to rewrite how well he has done to this point. I have said, I've been pretty open that I thought going into the season I would have fired him because I just don't think he's been doing a good job. With that being said, he has the right to win his job back because they kept him. So he might as well try to win his job back. I will just say this. If this team doesn't make the playoffs, then there is no world where you can convince me that this is working or that we should allow for this to continue to happen. Because right now, you are in first place in your division. You are very highly, you have not an amazing cushion, but you have solidly stepped up to the plate all season long. You didn't collapse at all in December like you had in past years. You're playing consistently at this top level of the Eastern Conference. Whatever. If you have another trade deadline where you do absolutely nothing or do very little, that's a problem. But then if you come out of this Olympic break and you look like garbage, well, that's also a problem. So, as much as I obviously I want the Red Wings to win, I want them to make the playoffs more than anything in the world, just because every other team in the city has at least made the playoffs at some point. Can they just at least do that for us? Give us at least the hope that maybe they could finally end the championship drought in this city. Not saying that they will, but just put them in one of the teams that can do it. This really is an interesting team because on the one hand, I pointed out some of their advanced numbers. They're not highly ranked in expected goal differential. They're not highly ranked in expected goal percentage. But yet, they keep winning games. And DeBrincat and Raymond and Larkin and Seider, All those guys are playing really well. So if you're playing so well, if you want to prove that you're good enough, don't fall apart. Plain and simple. I think that's why I was waiting so long to talk about the Red Wings, was that basically my feelings are, well, don't fall apart. Like, that's just how it is. Oh, I'm like all congested, guys. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to blow my nose again. I'll be right back. Okay. All right. I'll read some of these chats, and then we'll just get right into the picks here. We're going a little bit later than I want, or a little bit longer than I would have wanted. So let's see. They're closer to being good than being bad, but not good enough. I agree. Evanson is doing fine. It's more Casper and Danielson that's more underwhelming. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think I've at least heard Evanson's had some nice plays. Like Casper and Danielson. I don't even hear from them ever. Anytime I watch them, it's like, are they even playing? Oh, whoops. Branson Nigar wasn't too bad, just wasn't lighting up the score sheet. Well, I mean, when you're picked in the first round, that's kind of what you're here to do. What is the Olympic break, by the way? I'm a casual. So yeah, I don't really know. I couldn't tell you. John Leonard. Oh, man. Austin Watson. Dominic Sheen. Ugh. What an awful set of names. I don't see the Red Wings making forward moves at the deadline. I think you mean like the position forward. Okay, never mind. I thought you meant like positive moves. I was like, if they just like sit on their hands again, why do I even watch? That would be my reaction. I see them maybe making a second pair demon at the most to be a Sherratt replacement as he's a free agent. See, here's the problem though. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Steve Yzerman make a trade that like, the guy that he adds is like anything more than like a long or a short term pickup. And to be fair, it's not just Steve Yzerman. It's honestly a lot of if not all the GMs in the city as of right now is they don't usually use the trade deadline to bring in a guy that they will bring back. So prove to me you're not the same old Wings of recent memory. I agree with this sentiment. 19-year-old rookie from Norway is doing a huge performance from right away. Yeah, no, I mean that's fair, but again, at a certain point, is the amazing, incredible, perfect drafter, namely Steve Yzerman, gonna hit on a guy who immediately comes out of the gate and is just lighting it up? Where's our Schaefer? Where's our, I know that these guys are taking number 1 overall, Celebrini or Bedard. I understand those guys are taking number 1 overall before. Everyone says, well, we didn't get any lottery luck. Well, if you're such a good drafter, if you're such a good GM, you're gonna find one of these kinds of players that other GMs couldn't identify. And if not, then miss me with the he's such a good GM nonsense. Because if he needs a number 1 overall pick to be successful, it can't be that good. Anyway. Bring out Trey Augustine. Yeah, you're waiting a long time. For whatever reason, they don't want to bring up Sebastian Cossa despite him playing really well in Grand Rapids. Like, for whatever reason, they want to just keep him instead of, Cam Talbot. They don't want to use him. They want to use Cam Talbot. I don't understand why. It doesn't make any sense. Not Augustine. Cossa is what I'm referring to. I don't know if I made that clear. Yeah, I do not follow MSU hockey. So, but good for him. I guess. Good job. All right. So it is indubitably that time, fellas. Yeah. Yeah, he's staying in college. So it is indubitably that time where we decide to make fools of ourselves. And we, meaning me, decide to make fools of ourselves. It is, of course, the time for. Hold on. What number of music are we on? Let me think. So 18 minus 4, 5. I think we're on 6. We're just going to go with 6. Okay. It is time for the picks. Hit the music. All right. I want to talk about the wild card, okay? I did pretty well overall. One small problem. The stupid Packers, the one time that I need the Packers to do something for me, they don't do it. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. So, divisional round, obviously only 4 games here to break down. So, I'll try to be a little bit more detailed than I normally am. Gotta lengthen out the clip a little bit more. So, Bills at the Broncos. Going into Denver, the number 1 seed up against the Bills, who knocked off Jacksonville in a thrilling game last week. Seth is going with the Bills, and I am going to concur. I watched a video today, and this is where my mind is. I watched a video today talking about how great Bo Nix is, and I just felt, man, this guy is getting glazed. This guy is getting talked about like he's John Elway, like he's Peyton Manning, like he's some super duper genius. Every time that I watch this cat play, every time, it's always like the most like inexplicable football. Now, granted, I don't watch a lot of Denver Broncos football, mostly because of my area, but also because I don't care that much about the Broncos. But I simply do not trust him more than I trust Josh Allen. Now, granted, the Bronco defense is amazing, and it's certainly better than the Bills defense. So Bo Nix is probably going to have a better shot at scoring. But we saw what happened last year when the Broncos came into Buffalo. Now, granted, this time it's a little bit different. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen, but man, if Josh Allen is a man on a mission, if he is determined that this is going to be the year that he's going to win that Super Bowl, I don't think that Bo Nix is going to be the one to stop him. So give me the Bills. 49ers at the Seahawks. Seth is taking the Seahawks. I'm going to agree here. Look, 49ers, it was an impressive win last week against the Eagles on the road. I didn't pick them. I didn't think they were going to win. However, the Seahawks defense is very good. You're now down George Kittle. You're already down like a million other people on your offense. This just feels like at some point reality is going to have a say. Now, granted, you are going up against ginger quarterback Sam Darnold, and the problem with that is that ginger quarterbacks do not win. That's a statistical fact. You can look it up. Go ahead and pull StatMuse on me. Look up ginger quarterback win percentage, and it's low. Yeah, I will take the Seahawks, though. I think this Seahawks team actually is very good, joking aside. I think Sam Darnold is good enough to get them through, especially in the NFC. So give me the Seahawks. They've owned the 49ers, at least the last time they played them on the road. This time they'll be back at home. Don't think it's going to be good for the 49ers. Give me Seattle. Then we got the Texans at the Patriots. Seth is taking the Patriots, and I am going to finally defer from Seth here. I am going to take the Texans. I believe that Texans defense is truly unstoppable. And by unstoppable, I mean stopping every single offense. Like, I don't know that Drake May is going to have the kind of ease that he has gotten used to when he's putting up those big numbers this year. I don't think he's going to be able to do that against this Texans team. And CJ Stroud, he's already gotten some playoff experience. He came, I would say, pretty decently close last year, even to making that AFC Championship game. I think this will be the time the Texans will break through. And also, I just kind of want to see it. I in a way, I know that I picked the Bills. In a way, I would like to see Texans versus Broncos in the AFC Championship game, because that would be it would just be like, it would be 100 sacks in that game, and that would be a lot of fun. So give me the Texans. And also, I'm one game below Seth right now, so I need to get some edge. Give me the Texans. Rams at the Bears. I don't care what anybody says. This Bears team is a bunch of frauds. They're a bunch of fakers. They're a bunch of cheaters. They're a bunch of nonsense scallywags. I don't trust them. I don't care that they won last week against the Packers. I don't care that they won, our 11 games. I don't care that they got home field advantage. Matthew Stafford is going to go into Soldier Field, and he's going to drop a bomb on that Bear team. And you know what they're not going to do? You know what they're not going to do? Shula, defensive coordinator for the Rams. You know what you're not going to do? You're not going to let this Rudy Tooty, this fake, cheating ass Bear team, this black magic using Bear team, you're not going to let them whip themselves back into this game in the fourth quarter. That's what you're not going to do. So give me the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford, he played a decent game against the Panthers last week. But look, maybe this Panthers team, maybe they just know how to beat them. I think that with how bad that Bears defense is, I think Matthew Stafford is going to drop a bomb in Soldier Field. And he better, because I can't live in a world where this stupid rat Bear team is managing to get to the NFC Championship game despite beating themselves every single week. I will not live in that reality. The Rams are going to win on Sunday night, and nobody is going to tell me otherwise. So anyway, to round it out, Bills at the Broncos. We are both taking the Bills. 49ers at the Seahawks. We are both taking the Seahawks. Texans at the Patriots. I am taking the Texans, and Seth is taking the Patriots. And Rams at the Bears. We are both taking the Rams. And those are your NFL divisional round picks. All right. So anyway, can't stand the stupid Bears. They're cheaters. They're using black magic. I don't know what they're doing. Though, to be fair, it was kind of funny watching them beat the Packers again. Whatever, I'll pick it up later. Anyway, that is the end of the show. So if you did enjoy, please hit the like, please hit the subscribe button. We will be back again next week. Break down all the sporting news of the week. At this point, we'll have the championship game set, or the Final Four in the NFL set. So I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about there. Maybe the Lions will have hired a new offensive coordinator by that time. Maybe. Hopefully. Maybe. Praying for it. So once again, if you did enjoy, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. We'll be back again next week. I'm taking off. You guys have a great rest of your night, and I will see you all next Tuesday. See ya. See you later. Goodbye. Have a good night.